If you use Windows, then this video is extremely important for you because on June 30th, an update rolled out that has changed the experience of millions of computers forever. Many people are still unaware of exactly what has changed inside their system and what problems they might face if they have not updated their PC yet. In today's video, we are going to go through every single change that came with this June 30th update. And I am going to tell you the things that Microsoft did not exactly shout about, but that every single user needs to know. Watch this video till the end, because at the very end, I'm going to give you a simple trick that will help you keep your system ready for updates like this in the future. Let's start with the thing that is probably the most important of all, and that is the issue with secure boot certificates. Inside Windows, there is a feature called Secure Boot, and its entire job is to protect your system while it is booting up from any malicious or unauthorized software. This feature relies on certificates that were originally created back around 2011. And those certificates are now approaching their expiration date. In June 2026, Microsoft officially confirmed that these older certificates are going to start expiring. And because of this, the company has been delivering new certificates to consumer and non-managed business devices for several months already. If your device has not received these new certificates yet, there is no need to panic because Microsoft has said that your device will continue to start and operate normally, and standard Windows updates will keep installing as usual. But here's the important part you need to understand. If you stop updating your system, you could miss out on these new secure boot certificates, and that can create a security risk for your system in the long run. So I would strongly recommend that you go into your Windows Update settings and check whether there are any pending updates waiting for you. Now let's talk about a change that looks small but affects almost every user in their daily use. In the emoji panel, which you open by pressing the Windows key and the period key together, the GIFs used to come from Google's Tenor API. But Google decided to deprecate its Tenor API as part of its own company policy, which forced Microsoft to integrate the emoji panel with GIPHY starting June 30th, 2026. The most important thing here is that if you do not update your Windows, you are going to start seeing a GIF service not available error inside the emoji panel. So if you like sending GIFs as reactions in your chats, something that has become extremely common, especially among the younger generation, this small-looking update actually becomes quite necessary for you. Simply installing the latest Windows update is enough to make this feature work properly again. Now let's talk about the feature that I personally find the most exciting, and one that I think a lot of people are going to use going forward, and that is point-in-time restore for Windows. This new recovery feature is now generally available, and it is present across all three editions of Windows 11, Enterprise, Pro, and Home. What it does is that if your system ever gets messed up, if some update causes a problem, or if some piece of software crashes your system, you can take your PC back to an earlier stable state within just a few minutes. This includes your apps, your settings, and your personal files as well. Previously, when a system got corrupted, people used to spend hours trying to fix the issue. But now, this new restore point system makes troubleshooting significantly easier and faster. This feature is a blessing for people who install heavy software on their systems, or who frequently try out new programs, because if something goes wrong, getting back to a normal state has now become a pretty straightforward process. Another useful thing that came with this update is the new calendar experience inside Windows Update settings. If you want your system to not receive updates for a certain period of time, you can now go into Settings, into the Windows Update section, and choose a specific end date, allowing you to pause updates for up to 35 days. This feature is quite useful for people who want to prevent their system from restarting in the middle of an important project, a presentation, or any critical task. Previously, pausing updates was not this flexible, but now this new calendar-based system gives users a lot more control to decide on their own terms exactly when their system should update. Let's talk about performance now. Because a lot of users have been complaining that their Start menu, Search, and Action Center sometimes showed slight stuttering or lag. In this new update, Microsoft has accelerated core shell experiences, which means app launch behavior and overall responsiveness have improved compared to before. If you have ever noticed that your Start menu or Search sometimes felt a little slow to respond, this update specifically targets that issue and fixes it. These small performance improvements together make the overall user experience noticeably smoother, especially for people who use their PC throughout the day and constantly switch between multiple apps. Now let me tell you about an important announcement Microsoft has made regarding Windows 11 version 26H2. This is the next annual feature update for Windows 11, and early testing has already begun through the Windows Insider program towards the end of June. The most interesting part is that this new version is going to share the same servicing branch as 25H2 and 24H2, which means devices will be able to update through an enablement package quite quickly and with minimal disruption. This means that when this update officially rolls out, you will not need to reinstall your entire system. Instead, it will install smoothly through a small package. Microsoft has been following this approach for the past several years to minimize the trouble users face during major version upgrades. On the security side, there have also been some important changes this month. The final deployment phase of Kerberos RC4 hardening begins with the July 2026 security update. This will complete the transition away from legacy encryption types like RC4, and only enforcement mode will remain supported on Windows domain controllers, meaning audit mode is being removed entirely. This change is mostly important for enterprise and organizational users, but if you work in the IT field or are connected to a company network, it is worth knowing that these older encryption methods are now officially being retired. Another important thing that has been announced for business and enterprise users is new security foundations for AI agents. At Build 2026, Microsoft introduced governance, containment, and enterprise-grade controls for autonomous agent workloads within Windows. Along with this, Windows 365 for agents is now generally available within Agent 365, allowing cloud PCs that enable AI agents to execute multi-step workflows across software, such as opening apps, navigating interfaces, entering inputs, and processing data. This shows how Microsoft is pushing its entire ecosystem towards AI, and we are likely to see even more of these kinds of changes in the coming months. Let's also talk about a few smaller but useful improvements that make the daily experience better for regular users. The widgets experience is now quieter and more focused, meaning widgets no longer open automatically on hover, and notifications and taskbar badges have been reduced by default, resulting in fewer interruptions for users. On the accessibility side, a lot of work has been done as well. You can now apply a full screen color overlay that reduces eye strain and improves readability. Magnifier now also lets you directly enter a zoom percentage, and changing it in increments has become more precise. Voice access and voice typing are now also available in French, German, and Spanish, which is a nice addition for multilingual users. There have also been improvements on the battery and storage side. Resiliency has been improved against apps that were unnecessarily keeping the sensor hub powered on and draining battery, which is expected to improve overall battery life. Windows Search can now find and prioritize files with as few as 2 characters typed, which makes the search experience considerably faster. This might sound like a small change, but if you search for files on a daily basis, you will definitely notice the difference. A new shared audio feature has also been introduced for some users, allowing 2 people to listen to the same audio from a single Windows 11 PC at the same time. This is useful for people who share a movie or a video with a friend or family member without needing an extra headphone splitter. Along with this, whenever Windows Hello, Face, or Fingerprint is set up, it now automatically becomes the default sign and method, even if you had previously used a different method. So if you have Face or Fingerprint login set up on your system, it will now be prioritized every time. I also want to let you know that some users might face a minor issue with this update. Microsoft has received reports that certain third-party applications, such as CCH Engagement, Workpaper Manager, dental software like Dentrix and SoftDent, and Zotero, are having trouble launching Microsoft Office applications after installing Windows updates released on or after June 9th, 2026. If you use these applications, it is possible that apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or Access might fail to open without showing any error message. If you run into this kind of issue, understand that this is a known issue and Microsoft is working on it, so keep your third-party application updated so that you receive the fix as soon as it becomes available. There's another small issue that has been reported as well. When you permanently delete a single item from the recycle bin, the confirmation dialog might show the internal recycle bin file name instead of the original name of that item. This is limited only to the confirmation dialog. The item still shows up with its original name inside the recycle bin, and if you restore it, it comes back with its original name as well. This issue has also been addressed in the latest updates. So overall, if we look at the bigger picture, this June 30th update was not just a routine update, it brought several fundamental changes to Windows. The expiring secure boot certificates, the new GIF service provider, a powerful recovery tool like point-in-time restore, a new pause calendar for Windows Update, and the development of the upcoming 26.82 version, all of this together shows that Microsoft is trying to make its operating system more secure, more reliable, and more user-friendly. But you will only benefit from all of this if you keep updating your system regularly. Now the question is, what should you actually do? First, go to Settings on your PC, then go to the Windows Update section and click Check for Updates. If any pending update shows up, install it, whether it is a feature update or a security update. Second, if you are working on something important and do not want your system restarting in the middle of it, take advantage of the new pause calendar feature and set an end date according to your own schedule. Third, if you work in a business or enterprise environment, confirm with your IT team that changes like secure boot certificates and Kerberos hardening are not affecting your network in any way. I know a lot of people ignore updates, thinking their system is running fine, so why bother updating? But as we have seen in this video, some updates are not just about new features. They are necessary for the security and functionality of your system as well. If you do not update your secure boot certificates, your system could run into a problem down the line. If you do not install the emoji panel update, your GIFs will simply stop working. So my advice is that whenever Microsoft releases any update, install it as soon as possible so that you can benefit from all these new features and improvements and avoid any unnecessary issues. Let's dig a little deeper into what the secure boot certificate issue actually means, because a lot of people get confused as soon as they hear this term. Whenever you turn on your computer, there is a process called the boot process, where your hardware, firmware, and operating system essentially shake hands with each other and decide how the system should start up. Secure boot is a mechanism that verifies during this process that only trusted and signed software gets loaded, so that no malware or rootkit can hide inside the boot process and infect the system. This verification happens through digital certificates, and just like every digital certificate has an expiration date, these secure boot certificates also have a limited lifespan. Since these older certificates were created around 2011, their expiration is now approaching. If Microsoft does not deliver new certificates in time, then theoretically, once the old certificates expire, the boot security of the system could be compromised. This is exactly why Microsoft has been so careful, distributing these new certificates through a phased rollout, meaning gradually instead of all at once. Each device only receives the certificate once it shows sufficient successful update signals, meaning once the system proves that it is being updated regularly and properly. So if your system is not consistently receiving updates, you might fall behind in the queue for these new certificates. Now think about what the real-world impact could be if these certificates are not properly delivered. At the enterprise level, this means large organizations with thousands of machines have to carefully plan through their IT teams which devices should receive the certificates first and which ones later. For home users, it is not that complicated. All you need to do is keep your Windows Update turned on and let your system connect to the internet regularly so this background process can run smoothly. This is something you will never directly see on your screen, but if ignored, it can create problems in the future, which is why I keep emphasizing throughout this video that you should not take updates lightly. Let's talk a little more about that GIPHY change, which looks small but actually matters quite a bit for content creators and people active on social media. Previously, Windows used Google's Tenor API inside its emoji panel to search and insert GIFs, but when Google decided as part of its own company policy to deprecate the Tenor API, Microsoft had only two options: either remove this feature completely or integrate it with a new provider. Microsoft chose the second option and partnered with GIPHY. This shows how dependent big tech platforms are on each other, and when one company changes its service, other companies have to make changes to their own systems so that the end user experience is not disrupted. For the average user, the simple meaning of this is that if you like sending GIFs as reactions in chats, which has become quite common, these days especially among the younger generation, this feature will simply not work without updating, and you will only get an error message. Let's understand the point-in-time restore feature in a bit more detail, because in my opinion, this is the most practical of all these features. What often happens is that we install some new software on our system or update some driver, and after that the system starts behaving strangely. Sometimes it crashes, sometimes it does not boot at all, sometimes performance becomes so slow that using the system becomes difficult. In such situations, people previously had limited options. Either they kept troubleshooting manually, or they tried System Restore, which has been fairly inconsistent in terms of reliability, or as a last resort, they did a fresh install of Windows, which meant losing all their data and settings. Now with this new point-in-time restore, the system periodically creates automatic restore points on its own that cover apps, settings, and personal files all together. If the system ever breaks down, the user can go back to an earlier stable point within a few clicks, without losing their important data. This feature is especially beneficial for people who try experimental software on their systems, who frequently install new drivers for gaming, or who use their PC for both office and personal work where downtime simply cannot be afforded. Let's talk a bit more about the new pause calendar feature in Windows Update as well. Previously, when you wanted to pause updates, the options were fairly limited. You could only pause for a certain number of days or weeks, and that too in a fairly generic way. Now in this new calendar-based system, you can directly select a specific end date. For example, if you know that you have an important presentation or exam on the 15th of next month, you can pause your updates right up until that date, and the system will automatically start checking for updates again exactly on that date. This flexibility is quite useful, especially for business professionals, students, and content creators who need their system to be predictable during any critical moment. I also want to explain why all these updates matter from an SEO and digital trends perspective as well. Whenever a large company like Microsoft updates its core operating system, the impact is not limited to individual users. It affects the entire tech industry. Businesses run their compatibility testing. Software developers test their applications against the new Windows version, and cybersecurity experts keep an eye on new vulnerabilities and their fixes. So whenever you see content about Windows updates on YouTube or any other platform, understand that this is not just routine news, it is part of a change affecting an entire ecosystem. Some people also wonder whether they should jump straight from Windows 11 version 25H2 to 26H2 as soon as it becomes available, or whether they should wait. My advice would be that if you are a casual user who uses their PC for browsing, entertainment, or light office work, you can wait a bit until the update becomes stable and reaches general availability. But if you are a tech enthusiast who likes trying new features early, you can join the Windows Insider program to take part in early testing. Just keep in mind that preview builds can sometimes have minor bugs, so think carefully before installing them on a system you use for important work. I also want to make it clear that since 25.8.2 and 26.8.2 will share the same servicing branch, this means the transition process is going to be significantly smoother compared to previous major version upgrades. In the old days, whenever a new major version of Windows arrived, it used to take hours to install, and sometimes even old data or settings would get lost. But now the concept of an enablement package is being used, where only a small package that activates the new features gets installed, and the entire operating system does not need to be reinstalled. This approach saves both time and convenience for users. There is one more aspect that people talk about less, and that is the integration of enterprise and AI agents that Microsoft is bringing into its Windows ecosystem. As I mentioned earlier, Windows 365 for Agents is now generally available within Agent 365. What this practically means is that companies can now deploy AI agents on their cloud PCs that can automatically perform multi-step tasks, such as filling out a form, transferring data from one application to another, or completing repetitive administrative work on their own. This is a big shift because until now we mostly viewed AI as chatbots or suggestion tools, but now these are becoming agents that directly perform actions within the system. In the coming years, we will likely see Windows push itself even further towards AI-driven automation. One last important thing I want to share is that people often think updates only come to add new features, but in reality, behind every update, there's the hard work of security researchers and engineers who track active threats and vulnerabilities all around the world. This same update also permanently patched a high-profile cross-site scripting vulnerability, given a CVE number, that was affecting Outlook web access in on-premises Exchange server deployments. This was quite important for organizations that host their own email servers, because before this, they were only protecting themselves through a temporary mitigation service. Now that a permanent fix is available, they can move away from those temporary blocks, get back to normal operations. This is a good example of how dozens of different security and feature improvements are hidden inside a single monthly update, benefiting different types of users in different ways. Similarly, a vulnerability involving a BitLocker security feature bypass has also been resolved, one that had been identified in an earlier update cycle. BitLocker is the feature that encrypts your hard drive so that if your laptop is ever stolen or lost, no one can access the data inside it without the correct password or recovery key. If bypass vulnerabilities like this are not patched in time, attackers could take advantage of them to access sensitive data, which is why these patches are especially important for people who store important business or personal data on their laptops. I also want to mention that if you are an IT administrator or manage a network for an organization, it is important for you to keep monitoring the progress of your secure boot certificate rollout and check your system event logs for firmware completion markers. This helps you confirm that your entire device fleet is ready with the new certificates before the final cutoff date. This small piece of proactive planning can save you from a much bigger disruption in the future. So overall, dear friends, whether you are a tech content creator, an IT professional, or just an ordinary Windows user who wants to properly understand their system, this June 30th update has brought quite a lot for you. I've tried to cover every single detail in this video, so you do not need to go looking anywhere else for this information. There is something else worth mentioning here, and that is how this whole update cycle reflects a broader shift in how Microsoft approaches software releases these days. Instead of waiting for one giant yearly release packed with hundreds of changes, the company has moved towards smaller, more frequent updates that roll out gradually and get refined over time based on real-world feedback. This is why you see multiple preview builds, optional updates, and staged rollouts happening almost every single month rather than one massive update dropping once a year. For everyday users, this actually works in your favor, because bugs get caught and fixed faster, features get polished based on actual usage data, and you are less likely to be hit with one overwhelming update that changes everything at once. It also means that staying informed about these smaller monthly changes, exactly like we are doing in this video, becomes more valuable than ever because these little changes add up over time into a completely different Windows experience compared to what you might remember from a year or two ago. I also want to touch on something that often gets overlooked, which is how these updates affect gamers specifically. With the performance improvements targeting the Start menu, Search, and Action Center, along with the broader shell responsiveness work, gamers who often run resource-heavy titles alongside background apps like Discord or streaming software should notice a system that feels snappier overall. Combined with a new point-in-time restore feature, gamers who frequently install beta drivers from their graphics card manufacturers now have a much safer way to experiment without the fear of permanently breaking their setup. If a driver update goes wrong or causes crashes, rolling back to a stable restore point is far less painful than the old process of manually uninstalling drivers and hunting down the right previous version. For content creators and streamers, the shared audio feature and the improvements to widgets can also make a noticeable difference during recording or live sessions, since fewer unexpected notifications popping up means fewer interruptions during an important stream or recording session. And for anyone doing remote work, the combination of the new pause calendar and the point-in-time restore feature means you finally have real control over when your system changes, and a safety net if something goes wrong, which together reduce a lot of the everyday anxiety that used to come with letting Windows update automatically in the background. Before wrapping up, let me give you one simple habit you can build starting today. Once a week, open Settings, go to Windows Update, and just check what is available. Read the short description of what each update includes before installing it, because as we saw in this video, some of these changes are genuinely worth knowing about rather than just clicking install and forgetting about it. This one small habit keeps your system secure, keeps your features working properly, and helps you avoid being caught off guard the next time Microsoft rolls out a change like this one. With 26.8.2 on the way, a whole new chapter is about to begin. Maybe in the next video, we will go into detail about the features of that new version, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you do not miss any update. If you found this video useful, hit the like button and let me know in the comments how this June 30 update is performing on your system. Did you run into any issues or did everything go smoothly? Your comments help me decide the topic for the next video, so make sure to share your thoughts. Remember, technology keeps moving forward, and the people who keep themselves updated are the ones who stay ahead in this fast-changing digital world. Windows, an operating system that runs on billions of devices across the world, every small change inside it affects our everyday digital experience. So whether it is a secure boot certificate, the GIF service in the emoji panel, or a powerful recovery tool like point-in-time restore, understanding all of these things and keeping your system ready for them becomes the responsibility of every single user. I hope you found this video informative. If you have any questions about Windows updates or want to know more about any specific feature, write it down in the comments, and I will try to cover that in detail in the next video as well. Until then, take care of yourself, keep your system updated, and I will see you in the next video with a brand new topic. Thank you for watching this video and for supporting the channel.